Hello, Otafest podcast listeners, and welcome to Season 6, Episode 42, or as I like to call it, the dawn of the final episode. This and one other episode remain. In other words, the second last episode.
My God.
The penultimate.
The season.
The episode before the last one, but after the one that's the third before the last one.
So, what are we doing today? Who are we having today? Oh my God, so many questions, and I will answer them right now. We are doing the 2021 Spring Anime Review, along with Dio, Jay,
Hello.
and Nancy.
Me.
Wow, I love anime and gaming and manga.
Otafest,
Garugamesh.
ikimasu.
Garugamesh.
Listen, I just want to go back to the year 2008, okay?
Was that 2008 or 2009? I don't even remember anymore.
You
I think
weren't
that was
even born
2008.
yet.
I am
You're
an adult.
baby.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
That feels
So
like you're
we
an
went
infant.
through eons ago in episode 37. We told you about a few anime. I believe we told you about Super Cub, about Subaru Shiki Kono Sekai, also known as The World Ends With You. Osamake, rom-com where the childhood friend won't lose. 86:86. Cestus, the Roman fighter. And Mashiro no Oto. We watched the first episode of each of these anime so that you don't have to.
The only
Then we can
episode
tell
that
you
matters.
Which ones you probably should.
The spoiler of the episode is that most of these we watched, so you don't have to, and I just want to emphasize that you don't have to.
If you don't want
really
to. You're free to disagree.
don't have to, but we did because we have
But
to.
we did. And
Mistakes
you-
were made.
You don't have
Mistakes
to.
were made,
That's not true.
but good things were also
We
decided.
spent
Maybe-
time together.
Yeah, maybe the real good anime was the friends we made along the way.
Yep.
So, let's just get right into it with Super Cub. If anyone remembers, I was talking about Super Cub. I added it to the list, and I was all like, yeah, the Super Cub is a pretty damn good motorcycle. What do you want to bet? This is just a slice of life that's a commercial for Honda.
And that's exactly what we got, isn't it?
Yeah. It was the most low-key, low-energy, slice of life, slow-paced commercial for Honda that I'd ever seen. And I'm not sure how I feel about
Do you
that.
guys remember when there was everybody was freaking out a couple years ago when there was an ad for McDonald's that was like an anime style ad? It was like a regular length ad. That's what this show was. It was a full length episode of that McDonald's commercial. I just realized that.
Yeah, I
but
feel
not
it.
for
I feel
McDonald's.
it.
It had,
But it
has
was
all
less
the
cute.
tropes.
It was less
It's like-
charming than that.
Yes, it was a little bit less charming. I would also agree with that.
Well, they had to take a 2-minute anime and put it into a 12-episode anime.
It's true.
So, to be fair, it had very nice scenery. The main girl kind of looks like a potato, but in a charming, cute kind of way.
A charming, cute potato.
Dude, that's every potato. Every potato is
it-
charming and cute.
At the same time, it's so weird.
was
It's like,
so
I have
much
no
nothing.
friends. I have no family. I have no money. Oh, look at this! Look at this motorcycle. It's $100. 3 people died on it. I'll take it.
Literally, this show tried to set you up for the worst scenario, which is where this character is super depressed and is maybe gonna harm themselves, and then then they
True.
introduce death by being yeah, this motorcycle killed 3 people, and then it just
That's why it's $100.
and then they just never touch the fact that she's miserable and hates her life ever again. And you're just kind of huh?
I mean,
what's happening?
I don't know
mean-
if they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna touch more on that later.
I don't know if I care to
But
stick along that long.
for the remainder of the episode, I mean, just for the remainder of the episode, it starts off literally I think the first actual vocal you hear after like minutes of just her getting up in the morning and doing stuff is, I am an orphan, I have no parents, I live alone, I don't have money.
Literally.
Like, I'm poor. And I'm just like, well,
You're just like, okay.
This is gonna be
You're like,
sad.
okay, cool.
She has no
went to
friends.
tell.
She has no friends at school. She's what, like, how old is she?
We know she's like a high schooler, but we don't know how old. Like, we don't know if
15?
she's
14?
I would assume like 16 because like don't you have to I feel like you can't get a motorcycle license in any country before 16, I think.
I think you get one
For
around
50cc, for 50cc, something like the Super Cub would have been, a lot of countries are 14.
Yep.
In fact,
okay,
Alberta,
that makes sense.
the province we are in, my 50cc moped out back, you are 14 if you have a Class 5 GDL, you can drive it.
You can't get a Class 5 GDL when you're 14.
You can't get a Class
No.
5 when you're 14, so...
Class 7, that's what it
Yes.
is, Class 7.
Oh, okay, a Class 7.
Alert.
Okay.
No, it's Class 6. Class
What?
7 is the learners.
Numbers!
Class 7 is learners. You only need that for a 50cc moped.
Oh.
Yeah, but then you can't drive by yourself because you're learning.
No, you can.
I think it's a
That's
Class
the thing
6.
about mopeds.
It's the exception.
Class 6 is motorcycles, isn't it?
Yes. Class 6 is a
Yes.
motorcycle.
Yeah. Class 7 is all you need for a moped.
All right.
Anyway.
So she's at least 14. She's
Anyways.
a 14-year-old depressed potato.
Yep.
And nothing happened the entire episode.
I mean,
What they did was they just exposed it right away. They were like, yes, this is everything that's wrong with my life. And then the next 10 minutes, they just showed everything that they just said. Why did they have to say anything at all? They could have said nothing for the first half of the entire episode, and it could have been like expositive the story.
Nice.
It's the fact that like nothing happens for the first 2 minutes of silence, and you just know that it's gonna be like sad, and then they like sad bomb you, and then they go back to sad bombing you by showing you visuals of like, this character just told me that she's lonely, so now I'm gonna see that she has no friends at school,
Right.
and then I'm gonna introduce this bike as like the one shining hope in her life for that, and it like doesn't make any sense because
Our cute
it's not
little
like
potato
it's not
gently
like
rolls back on the throttle.
Because it's like,
And
you know what
color
would be
enters the
really,
world.
you know what would have been a much better hook? Imagine if like in that first 2 minutes, like 2 to 3 minutes of silence in the episode where there's no talking, it's just a flashback of like the girl, like the main character with like her dad, let's say it's her dad, and her dad, like she's excited to like see her dad go off to work, and it's like a normal day, and he's going to work and he's driving his Super Cub or like whatever scooter he has to work, and then it flashes forward to her getting dressed all by herself, and then does the knowledge bomb that she has no family. Then when the reveal is that she can get this Super Cub for $100, it's like, oh my god, it's sentimental. Like, at least I would care.
Yeah, there was
So-
no build up for us to actually give a shit about her,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And like when she goes to the like motorcycle shop and she's just like, she just wants to look at the price tags, and I'm thinking to myself, how are you gonna afford a motorcycle? You literally just told us you're poor, you have no parents, you have like no way of making money. And not to mention, like, the guy who sells it to her, like, is like, oh, you also need to have a license. And she goes, oh, okay. And then next shot we see is she's at, like, the registry getting a license and, like, a plate for the motorcycle. I'm just like, how are you paying for all this?
Yeah, like, why didn't we get a little, like, training montage of her, like, learning how to
Training
drive?
montage.
Yeah, like, of her, like, getting a part-time job and earning money to save up for this motorcycle that she wants. And, like, her going to motorcycle lessons and she, like, falls over and she can't control the bike the first time she gets onto it. And it's, like, really stressful because she's like, oh, man, I'm never going to be able to ride a scooter. I'll never be able to do it. Like...
Something. Anything.
The story is literally like taking us on a museum tour, and it's like, stop and look at the Mona Lisa, take a selfie. Okay, now move on to the next exhibit, please.
And then, like, okay, so she's gotten this thing, she's super in love with it, really likes seeing it outside of her window, goes to bed, wakes up in the middle of the night and goes, I want to go for a ride now. Goes out and gets stuck because there's no gas in the thing. Like, she didn't even know she needed fuel in it.
Yeah.
cut her some slack. She only ever rode bikes before.
I mean, it's true up to that point.
I feel like if you
it's like she had no parents to learn
lessons,
things from.
she learned how to drive the thing somehow. She got a license.
She had to memorize a book full of rules to go and take a test.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nowhere do you, in your driving test, do you have to refuel.
No, but it's part
That
of
is
the...
true, but it's part of the knowledge, like in the book, that you have to study before
Not
you
to
write
her.
the test.
Is it not?
No.
It really isn't.
That's
I don't
really
know if
that's,
I really wanna-
that's supremely untrue.
I haven't read the
Dang.
motorcycle handbook for Alberta, but I did back in Ontario. It doesn't say anything about refueling
No.
because that's your owner's manual that
Yeah.
does that.
I guess that's true. And she did figure it out when she did finally read the owner's manual, so...
When she was in trouble because she was out of gas.
Yeah.
Anyway, so interesting visuals, not so sure about the storytelling. We all noticed when everything went from slightly less saturated to very saturated when she gets on
When
the
she got the
motorcycle for the first
when
time.
the joy was in her life.
Cheesy.
3 out of 10 would not watch the rest of the episode.
You would
rest of the
really
series.
have to be a super fan of the Super Cub to like this show.
I mean, I don't know that the next couple episodes will continue the same way. It's hard to tell, but definitely not super impressed with the first ep.
Not super impressed with the Super Cup anime. You did it.
You did it.
All right, that's the end of the episode. Thanks for listening. You guys have a good night. Thanks for coming.
Podcast is done forever now. Bye.
No.
Yeah, we got to talk about...
The podcast doesn't end with you. The world ends with you.
Subarashiki Kono Sakai. Based off of
Subaru
the hit
Shiki.
video game, which is getting a sequel.
Kono Shikai.
Which is probably why this anime exists.
Is it getting a sequel? I thought it was just getting a port.
Is it? I actually
Isn't it
don't
a
know.
sequel?
I haven't been paying attention to video games.
Didn't they just announce...
I haven't
But it
been
was
playing
getting a
Nintendo
sequel?
games in a while, and this one was a DS game from me. I did play the game. I enjoyed it. I never got around to finishing it because that last boss was really hard. And also, it was one of those games where you had to watch the top screen, but also the bottom screen, and
Yes,
you
'cause
were
it was on
using the
Nintendo
stylus
DS.
on the bottom screen while also pressing all the buttons.
Yes.
It was
Okay,
hard.
so I was right. There is a sequel, Neo The World Ends With You, that's coming out July 27th of this year.
That's the worst title I've ever heard.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure, I am a well-known not enjoyer of video game anime adaptations because they lack the soul of the games that they're based on, and they lack the understanding that the fundamental flaw is that video game storytelling works because the story is designed to be an interactive experience. Anime
Yes.
storytelling is designed to not be interactive. You are supposed to be a passive viewer, and that's how it's supposed to be. Now, it's not to say that you can't take something from an interactive voice and put it into a passive voice, but I don't think these adaptions aim to do that, because their goal isn't to take this story and put it in front of a different audience. The goal is to remind the existing audience, like people who already played the game, that they're like, hey, you played this, you loved this, remember this? Do you like this? Do you remember this? There's a sequel coming. Open your wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that it wasn't, as someone who really liked the game, the DS game, and I even sought it out in a physical copy after I think I sold my original copy, because I actually gave a crap enough. I was like, oh, this is my personal big cult classic game I really liked. But the anime has good art design, but that's lifted from the game, so that's not a surprise. It has good music design, because, again, lifted from the game. But what's left to actually, substance-wise, and, how it actually presents what the story is, or the characters, there's not much. It's really you better have played the game, you better have been a fan. There's no Maybe beyond the first episode, like it gives you more exposition, but considering that there's only so many days in the underworld, or sorry, in the underground, and you go through the first 3 in the blink of an eye, you're like, all right, I guess we're just introducing people, but not really telling people why or where or how or anything else. So, little disappointing.
I have a question. As someone who didn't play the game, it seems like all 3 of you guys played the game. Did the game run at like 10 frames per second? Was the anime faithful to the game in that regard?
No.
I mean,
Not at all.
No,
That's just no budget. That's just no budget. Speaking.
So, if I remember right, the gameplay was it was pseudo sprite oriented. So it was like sprite-ish animations.
Yeah.
So kind of faithful to that. But yeah, the animation didn't impress me terribly. It kind of reminded me of like the first season of Archer.
The fight scenes, they had like interesting fight choreography. They had really good camera movements. Like they were very
Good music.
ambitious with what they were trying to do, and they just couldn't really follow it up in the anime. Like that's what was going on.
It was just
That's
paced
the
so
only
awkwardly.
reason why it didn't look good. It was paced very awkwardly. I didn't understand anything that was going on. I was just like, okay, these are Kingdom Hearts characters doing their thing. Okay.
I think it's just a matter of like, I think there are probably passionate individuals on that team. Like, I'm sure there is at least a handful of animators who are like, I really love animating. And if you give me a cool IP and tell me to animate something cool or storyboard something cool, I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm just going to make something awesome. And that's kind of like why you have some of the fight sequences were actually really, really interestingly choreographed, in terms of how like you could see the vision of what they maybe wanted to execute. But the thing is with these, as I said, this is a ploy for Square Enix to say, hey, our new game that's based on this IP that you like has a sequel coming out in a couple months. Open your wallet. And so the budget for this anime is probably limited to like some fraction of the sequel game's marketing budget.
Possibly.
Yep.
Possibly. But like how many episodes are in the whole season? Like 7?
12.
12?
Oh, not 12. Is it not a 12-episode series?
12. But the
I
first
assumed it was a 12
3
episode
out of
series.
7 days in the underground, yeah, in the underground are in the first episode. Like there's got to be a lot more that happens after the 7 days are up.
I am now going to go check. I'm now going to ask the Google machine. Okay, it's 9 episodes.
Wow,
Okay.
so it doesn't even get to one full core?
No.
No.
9.
Surprising.
Weird.
They really didn't have budget. Goddamn.
Maybe that's why the first episode was chopped so weird.
Oh, apparently there was an episode 0.
Were we
Oh,
supposed to
no.
watch that?
I don't think so, because there's no synopsis or anything, so I don't think it would have been anywhere. I probably was Japan only. Special program just before broadcast. Air date April
Weird.
3rd. Interesting.
So how about that Osa make? The rom-com where the childhood friend won't lose
I felt
feelings.
okay.
That one was a
so
disaster
when we
in a
first started this
strange
show,
way.
we were like, "This is the most generic rom-com show that I have seen in a while." It hits every trope of the super generic show.
It
Yeah.
really did.
The
It really
characters,
did.
wow. The plot, meh. The task,
The animation quality.
also
The animation was
everything was eh. As we went on in the show, we were both happy about some of the character developments and also
And horrified.
like just did not I couldn't figure out if I cared or not was my problem. There were like some cuter characters
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, maybe we'll get through here," or there's so, but then it just kept it going back and forth. The plot line is just like a pendulum that doesn't get you anywhere. It swings very little, but it swings enough to like get your interest for half a second, and then you're like, no, I can't possibly care about this.
I feel like the title is bait.
It's Toradora all over again, but not nearly as endearing.
Yeah, I don't know
problem
how I
is,
feel
like,
about any of the characters. The main character is
All
boring.
of the characters are childhood friends, though, aren't they? Like, is that the joke?
Maybe
Did I
that's
understand?
the joke. Is that because they're all childhood friends, so no matter what the childhood friend doesn't lose?
Maybe.
Because they're all childhood friends? Maybe that is the joke?
I just thought that there was a lot more potential based on when we first picked it off of the synopsis. And then
It
nothing.
sounds like something that should have potential, but it's just executed in a really
Oh, so that's just
Strange
boring
way.
my whole life
lackluster
since
way.
I was in junior high. Potential,
Unfortunate.
but then just strange, really. I don't
Yeah,
know. It was.
life do be like that. Life comes at you fast.
I felt like near the end of the episode, I was like, maybe this could be interesting, but considering that legitimately like 75% of it was sort of like, don't really care, it's hard to justify a second episode or a third episode unless you really like
Yeah.
this genre. And someone could tell me tomorrow that like this could be the best show that has ever been animated in all of Japanese history, and I'd be like, that could be true. I still don't watch it. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. It almost got me for a second. Like, it had a couple moments where I was like, these characters are not exactly the tropes that they're pretending to be.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
They almost tried. They almost tried too hard to be like more.
Yeah, it was like, actually, they are the tropes that they are trying to pretend they're not. Like, they kind of just are.
Like-
and I was just like, oh,
Like,
you almost had me there.
probably the best 2 seconds of that was when the love interest girl was about to be taken advantage of from some other classmate. It was like, oh, your notes are so pretty and well organized. I'm just gonna go copy this. And she stands up and rips her fucking notes in half and says, oh
Yeah,
no, I
that
guess
was
now
a
you
power
can't copy
move.
them. That was just like an alpha
She
move
asserted
right there.
dominance. She definitely asserted dominance there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then sort of, I don't mind the I don't know if she's the secondary love interest technically in this show.
Yeah,
even though she's the main.
the one with
she's
the
actually
clovers in her
technically
hair.
she's actually the secondary main character, but she's actually the secondary love interest.
Where she's like, I like you.
Yeah.
You rejected me. I'm gonna pretend that I don't like you.
It was a
Because
lot.
the rejection hurts. And then you're gonna call me out on it, and I'm gonna admit it, but then I'm gonna go back to pretending I don't like you. Like, that was some real shit.
Yeah.
Just no. Not super inspired to continue watching this one for sure.
Yeah, it had me for a second.
3.5
Only
out
for a
of 10 because
It had me
slight
for about 86 seconds.
Again, it is a pendulum that swings in the way of interest, only to swing away from it. I wouldn't watch it again.
No.
I would watch 86 again. I did like this one.
So when it comes to 86, everyone else in the call was talking about vitiligo and the stripiness of women for the first half of the episode, so I think they missed a lot.
As someone who
At
was
the same time, as someone who's watched every episode, going back to the first episode, watching again, I feel like it was a bad first episode.
First of all,
I
gotta say
liked it.
two things. One of them is that the pacing did not make a lot of sense in how they were trying
No,
to
it
tell the
did.
story.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that.
They swung in some weird, I want to say, character development or like attempt at humor early on, and then tried to build some relationshipness with the viewer, and that didn't really happen. And then some kid died. There was a lot happening in that first episode, but not in any sort of cohesive way, and that was jarring. Number two, the art style is basically, I'm gonna call it like Full Metal Panic meets Attack on Titan. character designs.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate, actually.
And I don't know how I
especially
feel
with,
about
like,
that.
the militaristic outfits.
Yeah, I'm it's all over the place. I don't necessarily hate it, but I can already tell you it's not my kind of show, so I don't want to crap on it for too much longer because I could.
So, as someone who was also distracted by vitiligo but did like it, I will say it was a roughly paced first episode, and I think that's because I'm gonna guess, because I haven't seen the rest of the episodes, obviously, but I'm gonna guess that it was attempting to lay a lot of groundwork, and it just didn't do a good job of spacing out all of that groundwork, because I'm assuming the reason that, like, we saw a character death, we met a whole schwack of characters on different sides of, like, a big military battle. We saw two very distinct sort of, like, areas and aspects of this world and the way that life works in this world, and we kind of jumped between, like, character building and character introductions to, like, moments of, like, darkness to brevity, like, really, really quickly. And I think it's because they were trying to just lay down a lot of framework so that in the later episodes you're not, well, their hope is probably you're not just like, oh, who is that person or what do they care about. Like, I think there was like they were just trying to lay out too much information too quickly. But I will say that I liked the action. I liked kind of some of the world buildy stuff. I'm definitely curious, and, like, because it has such a large cast of characters with, like, seemingly very different personalities and goals and interests, I'm kind of like, oh, I'm piqued. Like, I could see myself watching the rest of this.
So Dio's criticism really hits the nail on the head. And the reality is that they are trying to build this entire complex world, political system, and military crisis all in the span of 20 minutes. And not only are they trying to accomplish that, they're trying to show off, like, the character personality in the middle of it as well. I don't know if you caught it, but in the middle of the episode, it basically has a time reversal, like, halfway through an entire day.
Yeah.
So, like, if you aren't really paying attention exactly to what's going on, there might be time skips forward during the day, backward during the day, and that is something that keeps happening throughout the different episodes. Episode 9 just aired, and as of this episode, the two main characters have never even seen themselves face to face before.
Damn.
Interesting.
And that's why the style of storytelling that it has, it's not intuitive, I would argue. It does have its drawbacks. And like I was saying, it's kind of a weak first episode because they are just trying to make it so information dense that the few very small bits of character development that you do get, or I wouldn't say character development, character introductions, some of it doesn't make sense.
It made very little
sense in the long term, but in the short term, in the first episode, you're just like, wow, these two girls were arguing about cake using real eggs, and oh, someone's getting shot now.
Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of that.
Yeah, the cuts were very weird.
It was cut that way specifically to try to, like, hook you with the shock factor, the moe gap, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Mm.
I wouldn't say gap moe. No, people getting shot is not gap moe.
Mm. Mm-mm. It was, for me, maybe a 4.5. I probably wouldn't watch a second episode, but it's probably good. Just not. I'm not the audience for that show.
I would absolutely recommend it. Like, I've been keeping up with it over the course of the season. I would actually argue it's one of the better things out this season. But the first episode really, really doesn't hook you that much.
Fair. I think I'm going to give this one a try. Like, I think I'm going to watch a couple more episodes and see how I feel about it.
You know what has a solid right hook but doesn't hook you at all? Cestus,
Can't wait to talk
the
about
Roman
this one.
fighter.
Oh God.
Woo! This one
Alright.
was an experience.
That was okay. So it
This was a
starts
Nancy
off
choice.
with this like cell shaded 3D, and I was like, "Oh no, please don't be X arm, please don't be X arm, please don't be."
X arm.
And then the weird cell shaded animation just goes away, like it just disappears. Everything goes back to 2D animation afterwards, and I'm like, okay, telling
There
this-
actually was some 3D
yeah.
after the switch back, but it wasn't nearly as bad
As
the
jarring.
beginning.
The beginning was so jarring.
So like I actually tried watching this when it first aired, and I made it like 30, 40 seconds in, and I was like, what the fuck are these 3D models? What the hell's going on here? This literally looks like Berserk 2016 levels of CG.
It does look
so,
like Berserk.
It was so
Yeah.
uncanny valley because their heads, everybody's heads,
Are
was
just a
so
little
much
too
larger
big.
than it should be.
Their
And I
bodies.
understand that's normal in anime. I get it. Anime characters have big heads, but when you put that on a 3D character, when you put that on like a buff child who can punch you
Yeah.
buns, that's so weird.
Yeah.
So weird. Also, Mr. Cestus like goes from being this like super like it opened up and I was like, is this a BL anime? Like because he was like super blushy and like
He's a
woo-woo
pretty
and, like,
boy,
I'm like,
and there are other
He's
pretty
a
boys.
pretty boy.
But I hate to say it, it was a Roman/Greek approach to pretty boys, which is
Yeah.
to say illegal in many ways too.
yeah, he definitely looked a little. It was a
mean,
bit questionable.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
was just more just like the fact that he was like so like he wasn't just like pretty. He was like blushy
Cutesy.
and
Yeah.
woo. Like he was.
Very. And like
He was like.
he
Oh
also
my god, I'm so small. And I was just like, are you okay? Like, what the hell?
and like
Imagine
there's no
putting-
shortage of pretty boys either. And there were times where someone like yanked on his leash because
Yeah,
slave kid,
that shit
and he
was
makes the
not.
sound. He makes the sound.
He did. I was like, this is. I feel like this is intentionally
Thinly
trying to
veiled.
tittle. I think this is trying to titillate me.
It's thinly veiled, but you can definitely
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, he also looks just like Little Mac.
Does.
He's baby
I was
Mac,
thinking
okay?
it the whole time. I didn't want to say
He
it.
was baby
because I was
Mac.
like, man, baby Mac.
Doesn't Little Mac,
Mac.
have at least a crumb of cake?
Yes, yeah, that he
Doesn't Little Mac have the most meager of booty?
Cestus don't got nothing. He got
Yeah,
a he got
so-
a
I'm pretty sure his butt is concave.
he got a inverted pyramid back
really
there.
funny
It was
to
a vacuum
see.
of a butt. Literally, it lacked any.
pyramid back
Yeah,
there.
it lacked any sort of volume in there, and it just, I think that's how he wins. Actually, he just like throws people off. Like he has no butt gravity somehow, and that like creates an anti-gravity field and throws
Maybe.
people off their fight.
Oh my god! Like it was just so.
A lot of things were
Strange.
off-putting about it.
Now, we did mention how it went from 3D to 2D, and that was a mild improvement, but I really have to stress how mild of an improvement that was. There was a lot of weird animation going on, like mid movements,
Yeah.
like small like head tilts or something would completely change the geometry and layout of people's faces.
Yeah, like people would dramatically. Like, I remember there was one character who stood up, and his body was like really wide when he was sitting, and then he stood up and he got super narrow, and then he started walking and his body was super wide again. And I was just like, that's so weird.
Like, it's, if you're coming here for animation quality, keep going. Keep going.
If you're coming here for story, I would also encourage you to keep maybe look somewhere else.
If you're looking for ass volume or volume of any kind, just keep going straight to Mashiro no Oto.
If you're looking for some like strangely boy love but violent kind of anime that is set in, presumably
Ancient Rome.
Yeah, like 2000 BC. No, not 2000 BC. Who knows? I don't know
remember
what
the
Rome
time.
is anymore.
But it was ancient Rome. They were into that.
they had Nero there, so it was like in the 400s.
Okay.
Wow.
Wait, no, Nero wasn't the 400s. I'm stupid. Nero was like,
Oh, never mind.
You
You're
could have
not-
said anything, and I would have been all right.
I would have been a-okay with it.
Yeah.
You guys start talking about banjo anime. I'm gonna look up Nero.
Hold on. I just to say that I wouldn't necessarily
Banjo
not watch
anime.
another
Okay,
episode.
okay.
Hold on. I wouldn't say I wouldn't necessarily.
Nero's reign was from the year 54 to 60.
Damn you.
Oh, dang.
Okay. I said hold
Emperor
on.
neckbeard up in this May.
I would probably watch another episode of Cestus because I don't think it was that bad, but I want to see if any of the angles we thought were happening in the first episode actually show up in the second episode. That's why I would watch a second episode. That's it.
Jay's just holding out for the BL scenes.
Yeah, sure am.
Totes. Totes.
I'm actually curious if that was actually like, because otherwise it's sort of like an ancient MMA anime. But there's
Well, okay,
there's definitely
it was ancient
undertones.
Rome.
There's
It's
undertones.
ancient Rome. They were into that.
Yeah, which is true. Like, it wouldn't be weird if there was boys' love, given that was very commonplace and normal.
Right, but I don't think it was part of like the description.
But I don't. It didn't seem like it was playing into like this is a super traditional like historical drama. So I don't know. I don't know what the show was trying to do. To be
But
honest,
Romans-
It feels like it's trying to be Gladiator.
Romans were definitely into having lots of their version of 80 all over their bedroom walls. So totally possible, but we'll never know unless
Like
you watch it.
Japan was just trying to recreate Gladiator, but instead of casting Gluteus Maximus as the main character, they were like, you know what? Just no butts. No butts at all. This is not what we came here. We are not entertained.
all I know is that the genres were action, drama, and sports, and it doesn't mention romance. So I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know what we're getting. But Mashiro
Jay.
no Oto did deliver what it said we were going to get.
Yeah, it did.
They promised twangy banjo music, and we got twangy banjo music.
Why do you keep calling it a banjo? It's a
It's a
shamisen.
Japanese banjo. That's
It's
what
a
it is.
shamisen, and it's cool. I mean banjos are cool too.
Technically, the banjo existed way after the shamisen, so the shamisen OG, and you have to call the banjo is the American shamisen.
Oh.
Oh,
Respect the original.
But
I'm pretty sure the banjo isn't an American invention.
I have no idea.
I'm-
Do you really know?
I'm
I certainly don't.
really glad that we watched this one last because this was the best one of the bunch by
Yeah.
far.
By
It was a good
accident,
way
we
to
left the
end
best
the
part
viewing.
for last.
And it was genuinely enjoyable in like every aspect. Like I was invested in every single character that they introduced, whether I liked them or not. I was invested in them and how things were going to play out with them over the course of the episode. And it felt like a lot happened in the episode,
it did actually,
but not in
it
an
never-
overwhelming way.
But it never felt poorly paced the way that the other episodes that we watched did.
Yeah, like it felt like it had a determined sort of like story flow and it wanted to like introduce some of these characters to us. And I think like the whole thing was an introduction to like our main character, why he plays the shamisen, why it's so important to him and why he's, you know, left home to go to Tokyo. And then it's kind of like the setup of how he ended up in Tokyo and how he ended up where he is, and I'm assuming the rest of the episodes are gonna follow his sort of like adventure, maybe not adventures, but like his experiences in Tokyo as he tries to find himself through music, which I'm here for. I like music shows and I like music anime.
He's a hobo.
like
He's a hobo that don't play guitar. Instead, he play the shamisen.
He played the shamisen, and he kind of bangs. He kind of was playing some bangers. In the episode, and the ending's theme for the show with like the hip hop and then the shamisen over top.
Yes.
Ooh, that hit different. That was so good. Like that was incredible.
There were a lot of sound, like there were a lot of background tracks that were
That just
really
popped.
good.
They just popped. Like I love I love when in a music anime, not only are the insert tracks really, really good and like fun and kind of like, because I mean, that's what the insert tracks are for. They're supposed to be sort of like the highlight of these characters' experiences and stuff. But I really appreciate when like even just like the BGM and like all the other sound design is also just like really, really good. So it all feeds into the mood of this like musical world and experience.
No, it was definitely my favorite episode of the bunch. I want to watch more.
I'm going to pick that one up.
I looked it up. Shamisen, 16th century. No one's really 100% certain. 16th century through the port city of Sakai near Osaka.
Okay.
Banjo is from African slaves in the Caribbean in the 17th century.
Oh.
Okay. Well, this is interesting because if you think wait,
did come first.
The shamisen did come first, but I wonder if they have the same root instrument because I know the shamisen is based off of a traditional Chinese instrument. So I wonder if like
I mean, it's 3 strings on a guitar body.
Right, but like it makes a very certain sound, like different than other like stringed instruments. Like in the same way that like sure, technically a violin and a guitar are largely the same thing in terms of construction, but the way that they sound and the way that you play them is completely different. So I that my curiosity now is like is the bass the same? Like, is the bass Chinese 3-stringed instrument? Did that originate in China, or was that like a cultural exchange between Africa and China? Like, are they both from some other 3-stringed instrument? Like, I'm curious.
I don't know enough about that kind of thing.
I don't know either. So I'm just it's just a
stringed instruments of that style have existed for like over 1,000 years.
Yes, and that's why I'm curious about the history of them because like they all probably come from like the same or similar root instruments.
Either way,
but
Mashiro no Oto, best looking anime that we watched.
The
yesterday.
characters
it was gorgeous.
were really good in that they had character. So there was character development. In the first episode,
oh my
there was
God.
actual character
Main girl
development.
was so good. She was best girl of the season.
There was the way that they told the story between characters, like the implications of things. While they were sort of, I would call them maybe a little obvious, but they were still subtle in some ways. Like there was nuance to it. I liked that. I liked the character design. I liked the art style.
Yeah.
It hits us. It's not like, I don't know if you could call it like beautiful, but it's sort of a slightly older slice of life style that still works really well, especially when it's an art driven sort of like the art design, the music design is important. So therefore, like the animation that goes into like playing the instruments and like the fingering and things like that. You see the animation of that, like it sort of works really well, while keeping it fairly simple with overall like line work and colors and everything like that. I don't know how to describe it, but it reminds me of some of my favorite slice of life shows. So it's definitely, like we've already said, it's a positive, but it would be a show worth watching, and I think I'll actually try and pick this one up.
I think I said back when we were previewing things that my heart only has room for one music anime, and that's Beck Mongolian Chops
Hell yeah,
Club.
buddy.
I loved Beck.
And
Beck is
I
a
don't
very
know.
special experience.
I don't know anymore.
Oh no.
Maybe
It's
my
a
heart has
completely
room
different.
for
It's a
two.
different
think
genre.
Maybe it doesn't have room for
It's
Beck
a different
anymore.
genre.
We'll find
it's
out.
not the same thing.
I think you watched DM's Detroit Metal City.
That's not a music anime. That's a comedy.
It's a comedy music.
Did you watch?
It's a comedy.
Did you watch
anime
High
featuring
Bike?
music? But it is not.
Did you watch High Bike?
Did you watch
Yufon
Carol and
Iam?
Tuesday?
No, I literally haven't watched Hibiki Euphonium or Carol and Tuesday.
Have you watched Nana?
Nana was also a good music anime.
No.
Nana
Like
was
the
also
only
good.
other thing that could almost arguably be called a music anime
K-On?
that I've watched is K-On.
I knew you were gonna say
K-
K-On.
yeah, K-On
And honestly,
counts.
K-On doesn't really exist. in
K-On
my
counts. Oh, okay. K-On doesn't
So,
exist
like-
in your heart. That's fair.
Like
I like
dropped
how
the
you.
second
I like how
season of
you're trying to
K-On!
cut him off at the pass, and he's like, "K-On's not a
He's
real
like
anime to me."
He's like, I don't like that show, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I can't disagree with you, not liking.
You
something.
thought you knew your boy, and he slapped that out of your
He
hands.
really did.
There are very few
set me
cute
up.
girls doing cute things anime that I really like.
That is fair,
Like, off the
because
top
that
of my
is the
head,
same for me.
Lucky Star.
If you forget that the first 4 episodes exist, Lucky Star. What was it? Sora no Woto, Sound of the Wind or something like that. That one was a great cute girls doing cute things anime, which also had a lot of the tonal whiplash.
Did you watch Your
that
Lie in
6 had.
April?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
What about this is not a music anime. But
Oh, Hidamari's sketch. That's another cute girls doing cute things.
you like Hidamari.
yeah.
What about does Girls Last Tour count as cute girls doing cute?
What about Macross?
Oh yes, yes. Girls Last Tour is absolutely cute girls doing cute things in the apocalypse.
Lovely.
Yes.
All right. Anyways, watch
haven't
the
watched Macross at all.
Shamisen anime. It good.
Yeah, Shabby-san anime is really good. It has literally best girl
Yeah.
of the season, if not the year.
I'm actually really interested to see what her character arc is. Like, I don't really care too like that. Like the main character playing Shamisen, that's cool, and he does have some story to be explored. But I'm actually really interested to see what she makes of herself.
Yeah, she should have an anime.
She should.
Well, we'll find out because we'll find out. I don't want to say anything about it.
Ooh.
What does Mashir know?
But right at
These
the
Snow
end of
White
the first
notes.
episode,
That's the
someone
English.
else shows up. And it was just like, oh,
That's
okay.
right. The lady from Kill la Kill.
She does look very Kill la Kill.
Yeah, she
Right.
did. I want to know.
forgot.
I want to know everything about her.
So do I.
Yeah, her appearance alone after everything justifies a second episode.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. She was important. That's an important point to make.
So let's review. Let's review the review. Super Cub. Only watch if you don't have if you have nothing else to do,
Or if you really
and
like,
feel
that
feel like
brand.
you want to feel like crying because you're bored. World Ends With You.
No.
Literally ends with you closing the browser
watch
and going
watch
Go play
it
the game.
watch it if
Go
you
play
if
the
you
video
play
game.
the game and you really love the game so much that you need the anime right now.
No, just go
Yeah.
play the game.
Yeah,
Literally
it's
go
true.
open your
play
go
the
open
game.
your
Yeah.
Nintendo DS again.
It's also true.
Osamake. The childhood friend may not lose, but you will lose a lot of time watching this.
Potential.
As your mom
but
said,
not
get a
great.
girlfriend.
86. That is the number of times that I snored watching this.
It was not good.
I liked it.
It was the
No,
first.
it's actually
the
good. I
first
really do like this.
episode,
I'm just being rude.
The first episode probably doesn't do the rest of the series justice.
86 is the number of what that I said watching this episode. Okay.
Okay, that's
Yep.
fair.
That's fair. I would give it some more episodes, at least to like 3.
3 episodes.
Cestus
Wow.
is not bestest.
No. Cestus,
Yeah,
the Roman
no,
Little
he
Mac
wasn't.
story
I mean, there's definitely. I'm sure someone out there loves that
with uwus
concept.
and potential
With
BL
uwus.
undertones.
Yeah.
And make sure you go to Mashiro no Oto.
Yeah,
Yes.
that one was the winner.
Shamisen gang.
Well, time to go watch the next episode.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely gotta go see this lady from Mashiro no Oto. She's so gorgeous with the white
Yeah.
hair and the purple eyeshadow. Like,
True.
queen.
She has enormous lips.
Good for kissing
Yes.
me.
Good. Good things.
Okay. Thank you for listening to this spring anime review. Look forward to our last episode of the season, which will also be the summer anime preview and other things, I'm sure. But mostly that thing. Yay!
I can't believe
Goodbye.
it's been another season.
Almost.
Goodbye.
Almost.
Can't believe
Not yet.
it. Almost a whole season of Oda Fiesta podcast. Wow.
My God.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.